Hello, everybody. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. The title of this video is The Origin of Souls. Before we get into this very interesting, I think, experience, I'd like to just let you know that if you're interested in supporting the channel on Patreon, you get videos on Tuesday. There's no commercials. And so that's fun. Number two, there is a direct email to me on Patreon, so we can talk back and forth a little bit easier than through the comments section. If you're interested in supporting Astro Club on Patreon, there will be a link in the description. Okay, the origin of souls. Now, this has been a topic that has interested me, probably all the way back to childhood. Now, when I was first trained in the Lutheran Church, it was just assumed, and the explanation was the same explanation that you got for everything. Where did this come from? God made it. Where did the earth come from? God made it. Where did humans come from? God made it. Where did souls come from? God made it. That was certainly a very easy explanation for everything, although it always left me, even as a child, a little feeling unsatisfied or like I was somehow being cheated or given the abridged version of perhaps the truth. And as a kid, you usually feel that anyway, but I doubly felt that in this case. Now, as you might, if you're up with the videos and you've gone through the recent Dark Night of the Soul series, you can certainly understand why I might be interested in exploring this particular topic. Certainly, souls, the soul matrix is a term I like to use sometimes, has been much on my mind. So, after all that problem that I had with the master and getting my abilities restored, I was thinking about making just a little bunt or a base hit, but I said, heck, let's go for a grand slam home run. So I decided I wanted to see if I could find out what the origin of souls were. I think what I experience is very powerful, and you can judge for yourself whether I achieved my goal or I saw something else. I'm very interested, though, in your opinions on this one. And of course, for everyone, just to make sure we're all on the same page, a soul or a soul matrix is this spiritual entity that is supposedly immortal and is the core you. It can't be touched or felt, it can't be weighed, but it is this energy that somehow exists, has intelligence, and can grow, and it is eternal, supposedly. It's very ethereal, though, and it's hard to put your finger on exactly what is it, where is it, how did it happen. So I aimed for, well, the beginning, or as close to the beginning as I thought was warranted. Now, currently, I believe, unless they've changed it, the current assumption is that the universe is 13.77 billion years old. So, with that in mind, I decided that I was going to aim for 13.7 billion years ago. In other words, some short time, in universal terms at least, after the Big Bang. I guess because part of me believes that it would have been impossible to go before that because there wouldn't be something to go two before that. You know what I'm saying? The Big Bang, I think most of us understand this. It's a pretty common concept. But the Big Bang, how our universe started, is that suddenly there was this incredibly dense, incredibly hot small ball of matter that somehow appeared or was somehow in existence, and suddenly it expanded. And it expanded quite rapidly, and its expansion became our universe, the space that we exist in. So I went, my goal was to go to a time shortly after, once again in universal terms, that Big Bang occurred, creating our universe. Now, I also want to just give you a little addendum here. I have to use English to explain this to you. If I could find a way to telepathically send to you, everyone listening here, all the thousands of people, what I saw, it would be infinitely more accurate. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do that. And so we're going to have to use the very clumsy and inaccurate form of communication that is called English, and in my case in particular, American English. So please forgive me ahead of time. I don't feel remotely up to this particular task, but I feel I have to try my best to share this information because I believe it's very important, and I think you're going to be interested in what I experienced. So, once again, I aim for about 13.7 billion years in the past. Now, I don't know, and I didn't know if I'd be able to get that far back. I have never gone anywhere near that far back. But like I said, I was going for a home run out of the chute here. So I figured let's give it a shot and see if I could actually accomplish this goal. After a blackout that seemed a lot longer than usual to me, although that's very subjective because how can I tell how long a blackout is? But it seemed that way to me. Anyway, I found myself in our newly expanded universe. Um, Out of curiosity, when I got back, I looked up the amount of energy that was released by the Big Bang. I read this formula. Now, I did understand it back from my college days in I could read it. However, my physical mind just couldn't begin. I don't believe any human can grasp the enormity of energy that was released. I mean, let's just say it was a heck of a lot. All there is, in fact, and perhaps more. The young universe was impossibly bright and hot. When I travel in space, I'm used to seeing a lot of blackness with aiming for little points of light, stars that grow into suns. But here, I found myself in essentially just this huge, bright, energy filled space that was expanding. I could feel that it was expanding, but the energy, it was the plasma soaked into my astral body, and I didn't even draw it in, it just soaked it in naturally. I felt extremely exhilarated, extremely powerful, more than I'd ever experienced in my entire life. But I stopped myself because I realized I wasn't there to leech energy away from a new universe. Besides, I didn't want to absorb so much energy that maybe a galaxy wouldn't occur billions of years in the future because I soaked it up for an extra power up. So I refocused on my goal. Remember, I wanted to find out where souls originated. I didn't sense anything other than pure energy and pure power. So I figured, well, okay, let's say I'm around 13.7 billion years ago, and keep in mind, I can't be sure. There's no way to know for sure. I said, let's go forward in time from here a billion years to about 12.7 billion years ago. I guess I reasoned that by that time, there would probably be galaxies and some planets forming or formed. And that if there was going to be souls that were going to inhabit physical bodies, it would make sense that they'd be popping up sometime where there was, that kind of life places where they could actually inhabit physical bodies. You can't, I mean, energy plasma, I don't know if you could inhabit that, but it's certainly not what we're used to. So I went forward a billion years or so, let's say that. Let's say it's around 12.7 billion years ago. Now, it was very different when I got to this location. It looked a lot more like what I'm used to. I saw galaxies, certainly numerous stars, and I looked at one particular star. It did have some planets around it. They were all gaseous, but I'm sure there were some that were starting to have physical planets too, I guess, or earthly planets. Um, Now, when I reappeared, I tried to focus on, once again, souls. Are they here? Where are they from? And still nothing. So I decided to move forward, but not with a time goal now, but with my senses open, looking for some sort of embryonic intelligence. So as I moved slowly forward, suddenly I got a hit, like a major, major hit. And I witnessed a massive tear in the fabric of our universe. I even tried shifting some realities dimensionally, and the tear was in every single dimension that I saw. So this was something major occurring. It had penetrated through all of the multiverse of realities that I'm acquainted with, and a lot more. As I sat there or stood there, however you want to phrase it, because I was just hovering in space, from that rift, a compact, brilliant white light emerged. And as I watched, it expanded to encompass me and the space that I was occupying, and a heck of a lot further than that as well. From within the white ball, I could see a trillion facets, like snowflakes that look identical from afar, but no two were alike if you focused on them closely. I decided to touch one of the crystals, and I felt the thrill of raw energy and power. I could feel, sense the potential for intelligence from within the brilliant shard, but it seemed to me like the promise of a chicken from an egg. After my touch, though, some sort of change occurred. I started getting thoughts that flowed into me, first slowly, and they were very alien. Then, like a rush of a massive chorus, I had to send out a signal like, whoa, whoa, calm down, you're overwhelming me. And as I thought that, it turned down to a dull roar, and it became less alien to me. I started to understand a little bit more about what was contacting me. Evidently, they were, let me call them, and this is inexact again, I'm really frustrated, but let's call them proto entities. They had traveled from another universe that had very different properties than ours. There was no matter made of atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, and other assorted subatomic particles and muons or whatever else. These didn't exist in their home universe. Apparently, their laws of physics didn't allow for the formation of physical matter. The voices communicated to me how they had traveled from their home universe to ours. They explained to me how they did it, but, and this is frustrating again, it meant nothing to me. Their explanation was literally like water flowing off a duck's back. All I can tell you is that they moved through a variety of dimensions looking for a universe with the potential of ours so they could experience existence in this way. They told me that in their universe, they only existed as a theoretical possibility, both existing and not existing at the same time. They had to enter our universe to become actualized. Of course, none of this made any sense to me, but I felt it important to note it. Perhaps someone listening with more scientific knowledge can explain that one to me. They were insatiably curious about me, though, and they scanned me thoroughly. I had the feeling that I was inexplicable to them as they were to me. They were fascinated, though, by my experiences and, quote, possibilities. I got the feeling that there was no judgment within them. They saw my strengths and weaknesses, victories and defeats, proud and shameful moments in my life as equally valid and equally fascinating. I've just never felt that level of complete interest with zero judgment. After this very invasive scan was over, and I don't think they meant that in any negative way, it's just, I think, was their nature to explore, and that's what they did. Now, I witnessed an intricate lattice work, which was these entities, begin to unravel, like breaking apart genetic code. And they started heading out into every possible direction in this 12.7 or so billion-year-old universe. Although I still could see very thin filaments were still connecting all of the departing fragments together like the thinnest fishing wire you've ever seen. I wondered if I was witnessing the birth of spirit, or perhaps intelligence, or both, in our universe. And I wondered if perhaps I'd played some infinitesimal or small part in its origin. Now, I wanted to follow some of the pieces to their destinations, and I wanted to go further into, I guess you would say, the future, to see how this would occur. However, I felt a strong signal pulling me back to my body. After another seemingly extra long period of blackness, I was back in my bedroom. To say the least, I am very curious and more than a little in awe of what I experienced in this astral projection. You know I'm always interested in your comments and questions, but I definitely am on this particular one. So, if you found this episode interesting, why don't you hit the like button, share it with those of like minds, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please include your questions and comments. Join us on Patreon. The link will be in the description if you feel so moved. And as always, I'm Rick, and I'll see you on the astral plane.